Telecommunications sector loses 4.76 million data users in Q2 2021. Railway Corporation generates 1.08 billion naira from passengers in Q2 2021, says National Bureau of Statistics. Asia Pacific stocks are mixed. Evergrande shares in Hong Kong rise nearly 4% after briefly falling below IPO price. And oil holds steady on slow return of U.S. supplies after Hurricane Ida. Details of this and more on Business Express, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us on the business side of life, and we start by telling you that the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) says the industry's active data subscribers base dropped by 3.3% in Q2 2021, representing a loss of 4.76 million users. This was contained in its latest industry review for the quarter, published on its website. Also in the period under review, the total internet service subscriber base from MTN, Globalcom, Airtel and 9Mobile decreased 3 months consecutively, ending Q2 with 139.81 million against 144.58 it ended with in Q1 and 1.5% year-on-year. Meanwhile, about 3.52 million data subscribers migrated from MTN and Airtel in the second quarter of 2021 between April to June. A breakdown of the telecom's data users' performance for Q2 2021 indicates that MTN Nigeria was the highest loser during the second quarter of 2021, losing 1.98 million in total, as its subscriber base declined for 3 months consecutively to end June with 59.59 million users, below the 61.57 million it started April with. The operator recorded its largest loss during the period under review as 1.12 million customers stopped using the network service in May. The loss dropped to 243,203 subscribers, and 607,511 was wiped off in June. The Nigerian Railway Corporation generated 1.08 billion naira revenue from passengers in the second quarter of the 2021, representing 237% year-on-year rise in revenue when compared with 320.3 million naira generated in second quarter 2020. This was contained in the latest National Bureau of Statistics Railway Transportation Data Report for second quarter 2021. The data showed that revenue generated from cargo rose year-on-year by 8.0% to 71.6 million naira in Q2 2021 from 66.3 million in Q2 2020. The report revealed that revenue generated from passengers in Q2 2021 was put at 1.08 billion naira as against 892.47 million in Q1 2021. The rail transportation data for Q2 2021 reflected that a total of 565,385 passengers traveled via the rail system in Q2 2021, as against 108,238 passengers recorded in Q2 2020 and 424,460 in Q1 2021, representing 422% growth year-on-year and 33.20%. The need to create a more conducive environment for investment at a subnational level has been identified as one of the ways to be financially independent from the federal government, whose revenue base is depleting. To this end, speakers at an economic roundtable organized by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group are asking states to look inwards to where they have comparative advantage and enact laws that will allow them to take advantage of such opportunities.
They must make themselves attractive to investments. They must make themselves attractive to businesses so that they're in a position to tax those businesses, and the multiplier effect of those businesses being in their states will be felt.
Foreigners are not bringing their money, Nigerians are taking their money out. So how do you give that confidence that will make private sector keep their money in Nigeria? Those are the issues.
Some of the powers need to be devolved to the state level, and we've already made submission to that.
Nigeria spent a total of 601.51 billion naira on the importation of motor vehicles in the first quarter of the year. This is contained in the recently released foreign trade report published by the National Bureau of Statistics. This represents a 15% increase compared to 523.57 billion naira recorded in the corresponding period of 2020. Despite the reduced import duties on vehicles, vehicle imports accounted for 4.4% of total imports of 13.8 trillion naira recorded in the period under review. Meanwhile, a total of 1.09 trillion naira was spent on vehicle imports in the previous year. In the second quarter of 2021, imports of passenger cars grew by 14.03% to 311.63 billion naira compared to the corresponding quarter of 2020, where imports for the same items stood at 273.28 billion naira. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has continued to engage Nigerians to ensure they get value for money and the right products and services are rendered. Letters of this engagement is the interaction with women entrepreneurs in Abuja.
But when they have the information, here is to educate them and then to let them know what they should do in order to grow their business and not to fall into the problem of the act. And so we decided to bring the women.
We're going to take away that quality service cannot be compromised if you want to remain in business.
I know what I'm supposed to give to people and I know what I'm supposed to take from people. So whichever way, it's a win-win situation.
Now joining me to talk more on consumer rights and satisfaction in the marketplace as the landscape continue to widen is the Executive Commissioner Operations, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Dr. Adamu Ahmed Abdullahi. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you, Adams. The pleasure is mine.
Doctor, we understand that your agency has been on this advocacy. First, it is the Nigerian youth, now it is the women. How can this improve service delivery?
You see, the Act establishing the Commission, which is the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018, envisages such so that you see there are already sector regulators in the market. The communication sector is regulated by the NCC, for instance. NERC has the electricity sector, CBN for financial, and so on and so forth. So therefore, the Act in trying to run away from friction between these agencies that have concurrent jurisdiction over such competition and consumer protection issues now mandates the Commission to engage with all the sector regulators as well as all stakeholders, so that they would know what the Commission is there for and what the Commission intends to do, so that we have an understanding from day one on what we are here to do. That's the essence of all this consumer advocacy that we have been doing, talking to all stakeholders from all fields of life.
Well, you will agree with me that you have a very huge mandate.
It is true.
Every Nigerian buys one thing or the other, or pays for a particular service, and satisfaction is the key thing. A whole lot of Nigerians out there on the studio here complains from one complaint to another. I understand that this mandate is actually huge, and you have another one added to you, which is competition. What does that mean?
You see, consumer protection is the satisfaction of the consumer, as you said earlier, if when you buy a service or a product, and by any means you are not satisfied with that product or service, of course, first and foremost, you report that grievance to the service provider. In this case, let's take the example of civil aviation, for instance. You buy a ticket. You want to go on an airline from Abuja to Lagos, and the flight time is 2 p.m. That flight is delayed for 2 hours, and the long run up to 4 p.m. Nobody is even telling you what time that flight is going to leave. Of course, you bought your ticket from that airline, so your complaint would first of all go to that airline. If it fails to address the complaint, then there is a sector regulator for aviation, which is the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So your complaint will now be raised, escalated to that body. And if by any chance you still don't feel that the agency is looking at it to your satisfaction, you can now escalate to the Federal Consumer Protection Commission. So to make things easier for the consumer, that's why we are going into these MOUs with all these sector regulators, so that we now know, look, from so and so threshold up to so and so, you are the ones who should take care of that because you have the core competence. Talk of communications, for instance, drop call. You make a call and then all of a sudden you are speaking to yourself and you are charged. So therefore you have a complaint in that direction. It is the NCC that has the core competence to tell you what a drop call is. We don't know. It's not our field.
That is
so
to say,
therefore
you work
together
in consonance with these organizations.
Exactly.
So how would you assess the performance so far, the responses to such complaints? Have they been fast enough? Have they been adequate? Has they been satisfactory?
Exactly why we are going to all these MOUs, so that we make them faster and more efficient. We have a platform now that we want to bring all the sector regulators as well as some service providers on, so that immediately we get a complaint that comes to the FCCPC, the system would now separate these complaints into electricity, goes straight to the electricity sector. Power, it goes straight to that. And anything that goes communications, aviation, whatever, it will now separate, so that once you have that MOU, it makes it much easier for everybody. The competition aspect you spoke about is things like monopoly, dominant, abuse of dominant market position. All these are now under, as you said, mergers and acquisitions by separate entities that want to now merge or acquire additional companies. They come to us. We look at the possibilities and look at where there won't be any abuses, no monopolies will be created, and we decide that this merger can go on or we can go against it.
That is quite sensitive. How do you plan to go about that? We have very powerful companies. This monopoly thing has been around. How do you expect to break it? And what's the time frame like?
Everything is taken care of.
Is it a process?
Yes, it's a process, quite all right, but everything is already taken care of by the Act that establishes the committee. It's a very detailed document that goes ahead to give you details on how you go about your assignment, and also what constitutes violations and what sanctions the companies are going to pay whenever they are in violation of
Are
the
you
rules.
working in consonance with law enforcement? We have a lot of policies, very good policies, but getting to implement them is usually the issue. Talking about enforcement, how do you plan to handle that?
We don't have any issues with that, because we, as an agency, know that we have a mandate, and we are addressing that mandate to the best of our ability. We just came on board in March. That is when the commission was really inaugurated with an EVC, with the executive vice chairman, also the chief executive of the organization, 2 executive commissioners, 1 for operations and 1 for corporate services. We have a whole, of course, gamut of the actual people that do the work. But then we are looking at the possibility, of course, of expanding, because we have to look at now this issue of competition that has been added to our mandate. We have to have the competence. But to attract that competence, you need to look also at the kind of service structure that you have, the kind of organogram that you have that has to now address all these other areas that now come into your mandate, and then to now be able to attract manpower that would address such issues. Remember, you're competing in the same market as the MTNs, as the Fidelity banks, and as the power companies. They have the resources.
Understand this is a process, just like you've mentioned. But how would you assess Nigeria's ranking in terms of customer satisfaction at this point? Then we get to do a reassessment moving forward.
I remember the ease of doing business.
Sure.
You know that we have risen some points since
the rankings, at the general country level, we are doing well. Yes. But if you break it down to states,
yes, that's where the beginning always is. It has to cascade down.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, this is a very wide variety. This is a big area. So therefore, you have to start somewhere. So we have started somewhere, and we are looking at essentially how we can now establish offices in all the regions of the country, as well as all the states. We intend to have state offices that will address these issues. For now, we only have regional offices that we inherited from the Consumer Protection Council, and we are going forward to now boost those offices. Lagos, we have already done a lot. Kano, we are also in the process of doing much more than we were doing before. Port Harcourt, of course. So these are the major areas, major financial, commercial areas of this country. So once you address those ones, then it will cascade down to the state offices that I'm talking about. Then, especially this online issue, you see, things are much easier now. You don't have to see a person physically before you can lodge a complaint. So since you can now lodge a complaint to most service providers just online, it's just a matter of copying the FCCPC, and we take it up from there. If
okay, are the platforms there? Are they functional?
Yes, they are. I've already given the card to your producer. I'm sure it will be shown on screen.
Okay, looking at the African continental market, where Nigeria has not just signed in, but it will be an active participant, and you know the trade share of Nigerian market. What is the position of your agency regarding substandard products in the market?
That's going to be a major problem for us, because you are aware that there are some mushroom companies that went ahead to Benin Republic, and they have established some small factories there. And this
with the intention of getting to the central market from there and not from Nigeria?
Not from Nigeria.
Wow.
And these are issues that, of course, we now have to take up. And it is part of our mandate. And as I told you earlier, we don't intend to play with our mandate. We want to take it and do it to the best of our ability. So therefore, there are issues that we're already addressing. You have seen some supermarkets being sealed by the FCCPC in Abuja here, some in Lagos. You have seen us go into the medical profession. We have looked at the way things are done, and when we are not satisfied, we take the matter up. And in all other sectors of the economy, that's our intention. That's what we intend to do, so that we will make sure that the Nigerian consumer gets the best that he's supposed to get.
Okay, with the coming of the coronavirus, the pandemic has hit a lot of business. A lot of businesses have moved from physical space to the digital, talking about the cyber space for transactions. How is your agency looking to ensure that consumers at that platform, the digital platform, also have satisfaction?
We have received so many complaints in that direction, and we have therefore identified that, yes, some of the rules we have here don't really address those things. So I'm just in the process of developing regulations now to address that virtual market that has already come up. And very soon, we're very sure that our regulations will be ready. Of course, it will have to come along with some stakeholder buy-in, because whenever we do regulations, we bring in the stakeholders, they go through it along with us, come up with their own ideas on what they think we should add, what they think we should remove, and in that we agree to disagree, or disagree to agree, and then we'll come up with the regulations. So the regulations will come up very soon regarding that market space.
Well, Executive Commissioner Operations, Dr. Adam Muhammad Abdullahi, thank you so very much for sharing insights with us on the way to go for customers to get value for their money.
Appreciate very much, Adams. Thank you very much.
Moving on, gold inches up as dollar stalls but lingers below 1,800 per ounce. Let's look at the commodity prices. Oil prices rose on Wednesday as U.S. Gulf of Mexico producers made slow progress in rebuilding output, although gains were capped by a stronger dollar and concerns about the impact on demand of rising coronavirus infections. Brent was up 80 cents at $72.50 a barrel, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 94 cents to $69.29 a barrel. Moving on, Asia-Pacific stocks are mixed. Evergrande shares in Hong Kong rise nearly 4% after briefly falling below IPO price.
Hello and welcome to the market. Now, investors have been cautious amid nervousness over economic growth and a resurgence in COVID cases, which have continued to affect sentiment. Stocks in the U.S. were mostly red. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell more than 200 points as investors reassess the growth outlook following a smooth ride in the market this year. S&P 500 also dipped 0.12% and Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.07%. European investors are also erring on the side of caution ahead of Thursday's European Central Bank meeting. A recent spike in Eurozone inflation and an uptick in economic indicators led some market watchers to anticipate a more hawkish tone from policymakers. DAX dipped 1.06%, FTSE 0.92%, and France's CAC 40 also depreciated 0.69%. Shares in Asia Pacific were also mostly red, with shares of China Evergrande Group recovering slightly after briefly falling below their IPO price. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index closed 0.12% lower at 26,320.93. Shanghai Composite also dipped 0.04% to close 3,675.19, while the Nikkei appreciated 0.89% to close 30,181.21. African markets are also affected by the same factor affecting their counterparts in other continents, with most stocks on the negative, aside Ghana's GSE Composite, which topped 0.05% to close 2,760.41. Well, that's the market review on the global scene. I am Boss Sedi Abel.
Next is the currency market. That wraps this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us. Do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Be safe out there.